Hello and welcome. I am Allison, and today's lesson is going to be gentle somatic yoga for feet and legs. So what we'll do first is just start by walking around. Whatever space you have is just fine. And I would recommend, if you have shoes on, to go ahead and take off your shoes. So you can have socks on or you can be barefoot. So take this moment as you're just getting set up to walk around your space. Maybe taking a few steps forward, turning around, and coming back the other way. So as you're walking, just take notice of what it feels like to roll through your feet and what part of your feet are touching the ground. You might notice, does it feel heavy on the heel, the balls of the feet, the toes? And then take notice if you're walking a little more on the outside of your feet or the inside. And then continue to walk, taking your noticing up through your knees and just being aware of what it feels like as you're walking through your knees. If they feel the same or different. If the knees feel stiff or if they bend while you're walking. Perceiving any sensations through your calves or the front of your shins. And then take your noticing up through your thighs and your hips. So while you're walking, notice if one hip feels different than the other, or if they move through just the same. So maybe being aware of sensations in your hips. If one hip sways more than the other. And if your stride feels long or short. And then go ahead and take a pause wherever you're at in your space and just take a few breaths there, noticing how you're standing, what it feels like to breathe. The anchoring movement for our first somatic movement flow is just an easy forward bend. And with this forward bend, we don't want to stretch. We're only going just to see where our first stop is. So let it be easy, especially if you're doing this work first thing in the morning. So here, you're going to go ahead and do a forward bend just to the point of ease. And when you feel that first stretch, you're going to take your hands and just place them down on your legs, your thighs, or the ground, wherever you stop. Notice that, and then come right back up and out of that. Next, we're going to do somatic calf release. So you'll need a wall for this. So find a wall, and you're going to set up, and it's going to look like a calf stretch, but we're really going to want to avoid stretching the calves here. So you're going to bring your hands about shoulder height, and let's start with the right foot back. So notice that the right knee is bent and the right heel is off the ground. And what I'm going to have each of us do here is squeeze your calf. So the pandiculation is your calf muscle. So you're actually squeezing the best you can your calf. And then you're going to let out of that muscle squeezing a little bit on one, and the heel comes down a little. Let out of the calf a little bit more on two. And then let out of the calf a little bit more on three. And the heel might be coming a little closer to the ground. And then step forward. And once your foot's on the ground, raise your toes up. And you're wanting to pandiculate or contract the front of your shin. That tibialis anterior. Contract. And then pause. So that's all there is to it. We're going to do two more on this side. Taking the right foot back and squeeze the calf. So you're really tightening the calf for just a moment. Let off a little bit on one, a little more on two, a little bit more on three, and step forward. Take your toes up and squeeze the front of your shin, and then let out of that. So these are only 3 to 5 second pandiculations. Take the right foot back, bend the knee and squeeze the calf. Feel the pendiculation in the calf. Let off a little bit on one, a little more on two, and a little bit more on three. That heel is coming a little closer to the ground. And then step forward and take your toes back. You feel the front of your shin squeezing, 3 to 5 seconds. And then let off of that. Take a breath and breathe. I kind of like to go up and down through the bones of my feet in between sets. Then, to reset, bring your hands back to the wall, and you're going to take your left foot back, bend your knee, and squeeze your calf. So pendiculating the calf, let off a little bit on one, let off a little bit more on two, a little more on three, and then step forward, plant the heel, and take the toes back. So the front of the shin is squeezing. That motion, this equal opposite motion, is called a lock-in. So the lock-in is taking the toes back. And then release, take a break. Take that left foot back, bend the knee, squeeze your calf. Let off a little bit on one, a little bit more on two, and a little bit more on three. That heel's coming towards the ground. Step forward, lock in by taking the toes up, squeeze the front of the shin. And you're gonna let off that and breathe, and let's do one more together. Taking the left foot back, bend the knee, squeeze the calf muscles, release a little on one, a little more on two, and a little bit more on three, and then step forward, lock in, and take the toes back, squeezing the front of the shin. Release and breathe. Maybe roll up and down through the bones of the feet. And then step out a moment, and we're going to try that anchoring movement again, just to study, in a forward bend. When you're ready, without any force, you're just going to go ahead and roll down once again until you feel that first stop. And then notice where your hands are in this moment. And come back up and out of that. And just notice for yourself in this moment if there was any shift for you in that forward bend. Our next somatic movement flow will be done laying down. So go ahead and make yourself comfortable laying down. We will be focusing on the legs, a little bit in the hips, so you can make yourself comfortable behind your head. If you'd like to reach for a pillow or a blanket to put under your head, just take a moment to get set up laying on your back. I also want to mention that this one it's helpful if you have socks on or if you're on carpet, because we're going to be dragging the foot a little bit. So just notice wherever you're at that you're able to gain a little bit of traction and you're able to drag with the foot. And if you need to make that adjustment, go ahead and pause and then come back when you're ready. We'll begin this somatic movement flow called swimming frog, just laying on your back, and take a moment to observe what it feels like to lay flat in this moment, especially noticing the rotation of your legs, left to right, noticing how your hips fit on the ground, if there's any difference in the weight of your legs. Does one leg feel heavier than the other? Does one leg feel longer than the other, or are they about the same? We'll begin with the right foot. You're going to let that right knee rotate out just a little bit, so externally rotate your right knee. And then you're going to draw your heel up that midline towards your pelvis. So your heel might come up to your shin, it might come up to your knee or the inside of your thigh. Pause wherever you feel that range of motion stops. And then go ahead and let that leg and knee lift up towards the ceiling, nice and slow. And then you're going to let that knee drift back down to the right side, kind of like a butterfly wing, nice and slow. And then you're just going to retrace that line with your heel back to the starting position. And that's really all there is to it. But pause in between each one to make sure your leg is completely relaxed. We release all action in the leg. When you are ready, go ahead and draw that line with your heel up the inline of your left leg. Pause wherever you feel the muscles stopping. So there's a contraction, then there's a pause. Let that right knee drift up towards the ceiling. So you're going to be using those adductors in the midline of the right leg. Pause. Then let that right leg drift open to the side like a butterfly wing. Only to your comfortable range. Your knee might not come close to the floor. That's okay. As soon as you get to that end range, slide your heel back down. Go all the way to your end range here. And then release the leg completely. Now, if you've got the hang of that motion, go ahead and close your eyes and do 2 more at your own pace with your breath. And with any of these movements, you're going slow and articulating, so you're feeling what's being used, when it's being used, and when it's releasing. And as soon as you finish your next movement, just pause. Taking a breath in and out. Still focusing with the right leg, the next movement of swimming frog is going to be turning the toes inward, and you're going to start to bend the right knee. It might cross midline, and you're going to turn to look at the bottom of your heel. Maybe like you just stepped down and you want to look down at your foot, and then you're going to take that leg back, and you're going to roll your torso back and pause. This one can be a little trickier. If it torques the knee at all, really make sure your knee is crossing midline. So you're going to start to turn your knee in, maybe crossing the midline, and turn to look at the bottom of your foot. And then you're going to take that leg back around. And like I always say with these movements, if it's challenging, you can also just imagine you're doing the movement or do it even slower. So you can do a tiny little movement and look down and come back. Go ahead and do 1 or 2 more of those, making sure that you're resting between each set. And then once you've completed that last movement, pause for a moment. Go ahead and close the eyes and just take notice of your legs now. Notice the rotation of your legs. And see if one leg feels longer than the other. And just be aware of any other sensations that are here right now. Taking a breath in and out. Let's spend a little bit of time with the left leg. Beginning by drawing the left heel up the midline of that right leg, so that left knee will externally rotate. Go nice and slow, so this leg may have a different range of motion. You're just going to take the heel up, maybe to the knee, maybe to the thigh. When you get to that in range, go ahead and bring that left knee up. Foot will be on the ground. Pause. Nice and slow, like a butterfly wing. Let that left knee come towards the ground. And again, it may not even touch the ground, and that's okay. It's just your end range. Once you get to the end range, start that journey of your heel back down the inline of your right leg, coming all the way to the very end of that line, and just pausing. Let everything go. Then externally rotate your left knee, take your heel up the midline of your right leg. Travel in that line, feeling the surface that you're moving your leg on. Once you're at the end of the line, you're going to take your left knee towards the ceiling. Foot will be on the ground. And then open that knee like a butterfly wing and travel back down. Now, depending on your pace, go ahead and take one or two more of these movements, making sure that you're pausing after each one, maybe closing the eyes. Again, we're going for sensation and awareness through these movements, and just getting really clear about putting the mind into the left leg and observing what is happening, what muscles are pendiculating or condensing as we're moving. And just reteaching the body how to completely let go of the pandiculation or the contraction at the very end of our movement. So we're really searching for that ability to be able to let go after the movement. When you've completed your next repetition, pause for a moment, and we're going to take that left knee internal now. So you're going to roll your left leg internal, and as you start to bend your knee up, it's going to cross midline, probably a little bit. And you're going to turn to look at the bottom of your heel, like you're looking at the bottom of your shoe. And then you're going to take that leg back and around, back to that starting position. Relax everything, and let's do this 2 or 3 more times. When you're bending up the left knee, taking it midline, turning and looking at the bottom of the heel. And then you're letting that go and completely relaxing. Remember, all of these movements, we're seeking that movement with pleasure and ease and comfort. Doesn't have to be a big movement. You want to just find how the body can organize itself to feel and to sense. And after you've completed that next repetition, pause for a moment. Close your eyes, just perceiving now the length of your legs. The rotation of your legs. Maybe noticing the energy moving through your legs and your hips. To integrate both sides together now, we'll start to let the heels move towards each other, just like a butterfly pose. So you're going to turn both knees out. Heels are going to start to travel towards each other and up like you're zipping up a coat, right up through your midline. Then bring both knees up. This is kind of where I think the swimming frog comes in. Knees together, knees open, and then slide the heels down. So it's the same movement. At the very end, pause for a moment, except we're just integrating the legs. Doing 2 or 3 more of these integrations where you're taking the heels up, that center line, the swimming frog coming up. The knees are going to bend up, enough like legs or wings. And the knees open up once again. And then slide those feet down. Good. If you got a hang of that motion, do one more with your eyes closed and just feeling the quality of movement and organizing the legs together in that fluid movement. Breathing, and then the next time you're down and your legs are long, pause just for a moment. And then we're going to integrate that other movement side to side, where we're kind of looking at the bottom of our shoes. But we'll do both legs together. On your next breath, go ahead and bend your knees to the left, and you're going to look at both the bottom of your feet to the right. You can really slide them up a good deal, or you can just do a little bit of a turn. And then pause in the center, and then we're going to just look at the other side. So the bottom of the feet, and then completely release. Go ahead and do one or two more on each side. And then when you've completed that movement, go ahead and pause just a moment and let your body lay flat. Doing one more body scan on the back, just down through each leg. Noticing the rotation of your legs and the energy moving through your hips and legs. Our last movement today is going to be for the TFL, and it's done on our side. So take a moment, if you need to popcorn out the legs or stretch out, go ahead and take that stretch. And we're going to start this movement laying on the right side. So if you've got a pillow nearby or you're already using one, you can just go ahead and take that for your head, or you can just be down on your arm. So again, transferring your position, make sure you're comfortable. You're going to bend the knees at about a 90 degree here. I'm just going to go ahead and lay on that top arm, or I can actually maybe move it forward. Yeah, that's good. Then you're going to take the top leg and you'll extend the leg out. So make sure you've got room around you. Our last somatic movement flow today is going to be the TFL release. It is done laying on the side, so I've used a bolster under my head. You're also welcome to lay on your arm, or if you want to go ahead and grab a pillow, you can lay down on a pillow as well. So just take a moment here to get comfortable. It's laying down on your right side. I've also worked on a massage table, so this can be done up on a table. It actually even could be done if you're in bed or you're laying in bed and you're working with your hip. To make mention of this TFL release, just to let you know about where the TFL leads in the body. So TFL is the top of the hip and it turns into the IT band. So TFL is tensor fascia lata. And it's up here in the hip and it turns into the IT band and it goes down into the knee. So this is really good for knee relief, IT band syndrome. It's going to be repatterning around the TFL, and it also will work. We're going to do a little bit of a psoas release at the end. So for runners, joggers, walkers, hikers, this is a wonderful tool to have. So once you're laying down on your right side, you're going to extend your left leg out. So your right knee is out about 90 degrees, and now your left leg is out. And this first position is just letting your toes face the wall in front of you. And you're going to start to take your left leg in a semicircle up towards your right knee. And as soon as you start to feel a pull in the IT band or in the glutes, you're going to slowly lower your left leg Nice and slow. Once you touch the ground, bend the knee and relax. Important piece here is to let everything go, even the upper body, and the knee is bent. So looks like a little bit like you crumpled up a little bit. So it should be very easy there. Now, reactivate the leg. You're going to lift that leg up and retrace that semicircle back to the starting position. Make that nice and slow, and as soon as you get to the starting position, slowly lower the left leg to the floor, and as soon as it touches the ground, bend the knee and let your body relax or deflate a little. Next repetition, reactivate your leg, turn your toes towards the ceiling. This is going to activate a different line of the IT band, maybe the quad line. That toes are going to face the ceiling and take that same semicircle, and as soon as you start to feel a stretch or a pull, no matter where that's at, even if you're not going very far, you're going to lower that leg down to the ground. As soon as it touches the ground, release everything. The knee bends, the glutes relax, the body relaxes, and then reactivate the leg. Take the left toes towards the ceiling. Nice and slow back to that starting position, and you'll feel the pandiculation and activation of the IT band, maybe quad line. You're going to slowly lower that leg back down to the starting position, and as soon as you find the ground, release the body. That's where that magic is. Last repetition or rotation, reactivate the leg and turn your toes down, facing the ground. Bring that left leg forward until you start to feel a stretch. Make sure your toes are starting to face the ground. As soon as you feel a stretch line, slowly release, bend the knee and rest. Breathe and reactivate the leg. Take the whole leg back. All this is done slow, so think of it more like painting or drawing than doing an exercise. Lower the leg down, perceive that lowering down, and release. Breathe. And finally, to release the psoas, reactivate the leg, extend the leg. Now we're going to take the leg back. In a back line, heels moving towards the buttocks, going back, and as soon as you feel a stretch through the front line, you're going to slowly lower the leg to the floor, let the knee bend, and let the body rest. Breathe out. Reactivate the leg. Lift the leg. Bring that leg forward. Slowly lower the leg down. And as soon as it touches the ground, once again, let everything go. Before moving to the other side, take just a moment to turn onto your back and perceive left to right. Just take a moment to notice. Noticing the energy through your legs and hips and the rotation of your legs. Then let's set up to do the same thing on the second side. So you'll be laying on your left side. Again, make sure you have enough space around you so that you can do the semicircle with your legs. Setting your legs up at about 90 degrees. Then we'll extend the right leg with the toes reaching out just to that wall or space in front of you. Start to bring that leg forward nice and slow. And again, you're feeling for when you first start to feel a stretch, either through the IT, quad, or glute line, wherever you feel that stretch, go ahead and pause Let that leg slowly lower to the ground. And once it reaches the ground, release. Rest. Breathe and reactivate that right leg. And bring that leg back to the starting position. So you're going nice and slow with the leg, kind of like you're doing a brush stroke. And pay attention to where you feel the contraction or condensing. As soon as that leg comes back to the starting place, slowly lower the leg down. And you're just waiting to feel when you can release that leg in gravity. Let it go and rest. At the resting point, take a breath. Reactivate your right leg. This time toes pointing up. Just notice what is contracted when your toes are facing up. Just be aware. And start that travel again. So we're doing the semicircle, paying attention to what you feel contracted. And by now maybe noticing if the legs are the same or different through this movement. Maybe this leg goes a little further or a little less. And as soon as you feel that range or the end range, slowly lower the leg down and let it all go. And that should feel really nice once you're able to let that completely go, or letting out of all of that condensing. Reactivate the leg, toes facing up. Taking that leg back to the starting position. All the way back, that brush stroke, and lowering the leg down, and completely release. Once again, if you've got a really nice hang of this motion, go ahead and do the next one with your eyes closed so you're feeling that. You're going to reactivate your right leg, toes facing down. Toes facing down, take that semicircle, feeling the quality of that movement, just until you feel that first stretch. So being gentle, being kind with the range, slowly lowering that leg, and release. Taking the leg back to the starting position, all the way back. Noticing what you feel activating. As we're repatterning this activation, as we do these movements more and more, our muscle intelligence becomes greater. So as you lower the leg, go ahead and release. We're retraining the ability for certain places in the body to be the only things that activate when we're calling on them to activate. So we don't need anything in the upper body, face, arms, to do this movement. So we want to be very precise and slow as we're retraining our neuromusculature. Go ahead and reactivate the leg, and this last one once again is going to be taking the leg behind us. So you're going to pivot that heel back towards the buttocks, and you're taking the leg backwards. And once you get to your end range, no matter where that's at, just slowly lower the leg. And once it touches the ground, release. Reactivating the leg all the way back up, back to that first point. Last time, slowly lowering that leg down and observing the release of all muscular contraction. And then from here, go ahead and turn to the back one final time, just for a body scan left to right, especially through the hips and the legs. Lengthening out your legs, and just observing the length of your legs, the quality of energy moving through your legs, and how the hips feel. Next, go ahead and roll to your side, just on your way to a seated position. Now I'm actually going to have you move through seated position to standing again, but I'm going to sit here and let you find a standing position. So we're going to integrate and kind of close our practice today with the same way that we opened it up, which is just a little walking around your space. So once you make it up to your feet again, maybe just take a moment to stand and see what that feels like for you. And then go ahead and take this on a walk. So take some steps around your space, just walking forward. And notice what it feels like to walk now. Notice your feet. Notice how your stride is left to right. How your knees feel. Any sensations coming up through the calves, the shins. Notice how the hips are moving now. Noticing what part of the foot that you feel most striking the ground. If it's the heel, the toes, the sides of your feet. Just be aware of how your foot is rolling as you're walking. And then take a moment just to stand and breathe. Observing your whole body in this moment. It might be nice if you have the time in your day to go ahead and take a walk after this session. If you can go outside or you have some place to walk, just to continue to integrate and notice what it feels like now after we've done some good opening and neuromuscular retraining for the legs. Just what it feels like to take a nice, easy walk. Thank you for your practice today. Namaste.